In traditional Chinese medicine, the baseline state of a human body is defined by a single directional principle. As Chapter 66 of the classical text, the Ling Shu, states, conformity is health, and rebellion is disease. Generalized qi stagnation is a blockage, energy slowing down or pooling. Rebellious qi, however, is a precise biomechanical failure occurring when energy flows in the wrong direction, working directly against the body's designed anatomical gradients. Every organ and its associated meridian possesses a baseline physiological vector. For the system to operate, specific channels must continuously push energy up, while others must continuously pull it down. In this meridian compass, we see systemic conformity. The blue and green arrows show clear, continuous transit, maintaining equilibrium. When specific vectors invert, that equilibrium collapses. A descending channel firing upward collides with ascending channels, creating turbulent nodes of multi-system chaos. Effective treatment requires mapping these failed vectors, identifying the exact axis of the failure, and deploying specific point protocols to force the current back into its natural conforming state. Symptom management remains incomplete if the practitioner does not first correct the underlying mechanical vector. You cannot calm a cough if the lung's engine is locked in reverse. We begin with the descenders, the downward vectors of the lung, stomach, and large intestine. To process air, food, and waste, these organs maintain a synchronous downward pressure. When this pressure fails, momentum reverses, pushing flow back towards its source. This upward reversal produces distinct expulsive symptoms. For the lung, it manifests as coughing and wheezing. For the stomach, it triggers vomiting, acid reflux, and hiccups. Restoring order requires engaging the middle controller. Point Ren 12, located centrally on the abdomen, functions as the primary regulator to harmonize the middle jiao and reset this descending pressure. By pairing Ren 12 with stomach 36 on the lower leg, we create a strong downward anchor. These points re-establish the mechanical gradient, forcing the rebellious vector back down. If the upward rebellion is isolated in the respiratory system, lung 5 and lung 7 are used to arrest wheezing and clear the chest. Settling a nauseous stomach or opening restricted airways always requires the re-establishment of this foundational downward mechanical anchor. The downward thrust of the chest and abdomen requires a counterbalance in the lower body, specifically the kidney's role as a systemic anchor. This diagram illustrates the biomechanical link between the upper and lower jiao. The lung pushes air down, but the kidney must grasp that downward energy. When the kidney becomes deficient, it loses its grip, and the lung energy escapes upward. This pathology manifests during inhalation. Because the downward stream of air has no receiving anchor, the patient experiences sudden breathlessness on the intake of air rather than the exhale. To correct this, the protocol bypasses the lungs and focuses on re-engaging the anchor, a process known as grasping the qi. Kidney 27, located just below the collarbone, initiates the protocol. We combine it with kidney 3 and bladder 23 in the lower body to re-engage the connection and secure yang at its source. Correcting this upper respiratory escape relies on the mechanical integrity of the lower pelvic anchor. We now shift to the ascenders. In the digestive system, this role belongs almost exclusively to the spleen. The spleen's primary vector is to constantly ascend clear qi, providing structural support to internal organs. When spleen qi is depleted, this creates a downward rebellion called sinking. The lifting mechanism simply fails. The physical results of this collapse are immediate. Without upward momentum, fluids drop, resulting in chronic diarrhea. Without ascending energy to the head, the patient experiences heavy fatigue. The loss of this upward vector removes the structural scaffolding of the abdomen, leading directly to the physical prolapse of the uterus, stomach, or anus. The clinical response requires physically raising the vector. We utilize spleen 6, spleen 3, and Ren 6 as structural pillars to rebuild that upward lift. Spleen tonification succeeds by providing the structural lift required to counteract a sinking rebellion. The final vector category involves the overascenders, the liver, gallbladder, heart, and pericardium. In a healthy state, the liver maintains a smooth ascending flow, while the heart and pericardium circulate energy. Pathology occurs when these vectors ascend too aggressively, flooding the head and chest with dense heat and pressure. When the liver and gallbladder rebel upward, the pressure in the upper body causes headaches, vertigo, red eyes, and tinnitus. When the heart and pericardium rebel, the rising heat agitates the mind, producing insomnia, palpitations, and emotional volatility. To regulate this surge, we open the 4 gates, combining liver 3 on the feet with large intestine 4 on the hands. This acts as a release valve, draining the excess pressure away from the head. For the mind, we rely on pericardium 6 on the inner forearm to calm agitation and force rebellious chest qi back down. Severe heat symptoms localized in the head are resolved by pulling the vector down, utilizing interventions placed at the body's far extremities. To map out a treatment, we organize vector failures into 3 mechanical categories. Upward physical symptoms demand points that calm yang and generate a strong downward thrust of qi. Downward weakness and prolapse demand the raising of yang and the tonification of the energetic source to restore lift. Emotionally induced reversal requires the regulation of the heart and pericardium. Across these protocols, specific points act as convergence nodes across multiple meridians. Pericardium 6, stomach 36, Ren 12, and spleen 4 allow us to control vectors system-wide. Within this group, the pairing of spleen 4 and pericardium 6 activates the Chong Mai, a powerful extrameridian pathway. This combination addresses rebellious qi induced by trauma or deep emotional stress, bridging physical digestive stagnation and mental agitation. Conformity is health, and rebellion is disease. The goal is always to restore the body to its natural physiological baseline. By deploying the meridian compass, the practitioner functions as a mechanical engineer, guiding rebellious vectors back into physiological conformity.